right, our speaker for today, Bob Curran, has had a diverse career that included senior positions at companies like H.J. Heinz, R.J. Reynolds, and DuPont. He ran two companies, payroll and HR, as CEO of a startup organization which grew to providing services on a national level, and he sold this business in 2017. He is currently president of Sept Eye Care Group in King of Prussia and Plymouth Meeting. In this capacity, Bob runs the business and operations of Surgical Eye Care, Sept Technologies, Sept Managed Services, and Sept Properties. He is also a founding member and regular performer of a Chester County-based comedy improv group called Better Than Bacon, who have performed in front of over 11,000 people in the past 10 years. A 13-year Rotarian and polio survivor, Mr. Curran was named president of the 100-member Longwood Rotary Club for the 19 to 2020 year. Since his term as president, he has led two major initiatives, the Suburb Transportation Initiative and today's topic, a one-service community. Mr. Curran has spoken to 18 Rotary clubs, 5 Lions clubs, and 2 Chamber of Commerce groups on the strategy to deal with dwindling service group membership via the model of a one-service community. Bob, thank you for being here. We're excited to hear your presentation.
Thank you, Alex. Of all the introductions I've ever had, that was by far the most recent. All right.
I can work with that.
You know, you would have heard the laughs if we weren't all muted. That was very funny.
Okay, I just want to grab this here. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Our journey, Longwood is like I said, 100-member breakfast club. And our journey started in this in October 2018 when we conducted a pretty extensive community needs assessment. We really had 36 leaders of the community, superintendents, politicians, police chiefs, nonprofits, everybody who was at the time. We had a great meeting, and we came out of that determining 3 key areas, maybe 4, but 3 key ones were education, pre-K, transportation, and housing. And at the conclusion of this meeting, it was great. It was everyone said it was the first time anybody had come together, and they did that because of Rotary's reputation in the community. But they said, none of us can take this any further with our own agendas, but you guys can. And we thought about that and said, you're right. I mean, we've got tremendous skill set and great numbers. We can drive this, and we made a commitment as a group to really focus on almost like moving into solutions. So we took on this challenge, and I'll just take it through where we are today. So what had to happen? Well, the first thing is we had to develop research committees. 100 Caucasian people are not the best people to tell you what solutions are in a community that is 50% Hispanic and growing. So, we spent a year just working with all the social service agencies and finding out what are the true needs. We had the resources, but we really weren't put it. The other thing is to, a lot of these social service agencies were used to groups going, done in a day, one and done. But our commitment was for the next 3 to 5 years. And to make that happen, we had to really make an internal change in our network, internal structure of the Rotary Club. So unlike, a lot of clubs, and we were the same way, as a new president came in, they would go, oh, great job, Alex. You really moved those initiatives, great, but I'm into trees. So we're really going to plant trees for the next year. And that really became a limiting factor to really dive into some of the solutions that the community needed. So our commitment, since we know who the president's going to be for the next 3 years, we made it that if you're going to come on board as president, you have to support these initiatives that we're starting now. Very key piece, because Some of these are going to take a long time to understand and get working. And for the people you're helping, they need to know you're there for the next 3 to 5 years. So the first one was education. This is interest. This very specifically is the kindergarten gap. In our communities, we have a great kindergarten gap. On the first day of kindergarten, if you were there, you'd see 70% of the students. And parents have been teaching them to read since they were infants. They've had 3 years of daycare and ready to go. The other 30%, not the culture of teaching kids, not being parent as a first teacher, didn't have the financial access to daycare. And so that gap that you see on the first day of kindergarten carries through graduation and all the way through. So the focus is, how do you close that gap? And there was a group working on that, the Maternal and Child Health Consortium of Chester County. And they were trying to get parents into a program called Parents as the First Teacher. And they were trying it. They were getting 6, 9 parents show up. And so we sat down with them and we said, okay, what's your stop sign? And they knew it. They knew exactly what had to happen. They were coming from 1-car families. The person working, wouldn't get home in time because these classes are at 6 p.m. They would have to feed the kids, and then what are they going to do with the children while they're in class? So what we did is we hired a bus company to go pick everybody up. We provided the food for the classes, and we provided volunteers for the daycare. So we addressed those stop signs, and we went ahead and said, let's try this. And so we piloted it with those changes. And on the first one, we had 96 parents and 102 children show up. So they clearly showed us, yes, the need is very strong, and we need to, So then we went ahead and partnered with a couple other Rotary clubs in Westchester, and then provided them with a check that would carry on this program for the next 2 years under the transportation, the meals, the daycare, and the parent, and the volume of parents and children showing up has been at that 60 to 90 level since. And so it has a clear metric. Hopefully we can look 3 years down the road to first day of kindergarten and see if that gap is closed in any way. Second was housing. And we're down here in Southern Chester County, we have a Good Neighbors program. And what they work on is homes where the residents can't afford to do any of the rehab. So we came in and said, okay, let's do a new model. Let's have the Rotary go ahead and self-fund it and provide the volunteers under your umbrella. And that has worked very well, and it's allowed them to do a lot more homes than they were doing. For Habitat and Humanity, there's a new big project going on in West Grove. And what we did for them was to raise funds with us and some corporations, State Farm being a big one. And we came up with $50,000. And what that did is allowed them to accelerate by paying the interest up front on their loans. We're able to accelerate phase 2, and it allowed 40 families to get in sooner than about a year sooner than they would have normally. And then the next project, and this was real big, and it's, the need is a mile wide here in the suburbs, and that's our transportation initiative. And as we studied this for a long, long time, we started to focus, it's a mile wide, but we're going to focus on a part that we can do well and is a big need. And that is for somebody who has a job and owns a car, but what happens when that car breaks down? And that car breaking down keeps them from getting to work. They don't get to work, they don't get paid, and a lot of negative things start happening. So what we've done, we recognized the fact, first thing we did was we formed our own LLC off the Longwood Foundation to operate this. We understood that we are volunteers and we can't operate a administrative part of, what will be is a day-to-day operation. So we partnered with the United Way of Southern Chester County. who will be the administrator, because they're already talking directly every day with social service agencies. So our LLC will be the managing, correct, fundraising. We're in the auto donation business now. We'll collect junks, we'll collect everything, and we can turn that all into cash for our repair fund. And the key parts of this program is the availability, the loaner program. Next slide, I'm going to take you through how it works. And also we have Rotary certified repair shops. And that means that they're under the Rotary umbrella. And then the third key part was creating microloans for the clients to pay us back, because Rotary will pay for the repairs. So what we've done is created a pathway for people to donate their cars, and then we can have them in a loaner pool for people to get to work. There's a lot of other needs about finding cars for people, but that's not our mission. Our mission right now is very narrow based of helping people get to work. So here's what it looks like. Say a client's car breaks down. They will call their social service agency, who will do all the vetting for us. And then if they pass all the requirements, they will get a car from our loaner program, and they would get the car delivered to them. And we would pick up their car and take it to a certified repair shop. So within 24 hours, we will know, the client will know what is wrong with that car and what it will cost to repair. And then the client makes the decision, and then we'll go ahead and get that car repaired. We will pay the car bill for the repair, and then that car is returned to the client, and our car gets returned back to the auto pool. And then we've set up a microloan with the Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union, and they will make and manage microloans for the client, and those payments will go back to our microloan fund. So that's a very quick breakdown as to how that program can work, and that's we're planning to launch this in October. So you can see it's more moving into solutions and less of the service projects, because of the commitment to make these long-term and not just done in someone's term. So, and that's a very key point. So as we talk about a one service community, let's tell you how we define it. As we're having client memberships in all the service groups, and we believe that trend will continue. Wayne Dyer once made a statement, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. And we're using that motto as how we look at our area. And so within, say, our area 10 down here in southern Chester County, we have 5 Rotary clubs, we have 3 Lions clubs, and we have a Chamber of Commerce. Now, what we know is the community needs in the county are not going to change. They're only going to get bigger and bigger. So what has to change is the way we approach those needs. And we could have continued on approaching them as our own little silos, and the Longwood Rotary is going to do this, and another Rotary will do that, and the Lions Club is going to do their thing. But we all agreed it's time to start coming together. And this one group here is 630 members. And if we can get to think along those terms of what can 630 members do versus individual clubs and the chamber, all these people have the same mission, but we're all trying to do it in a silo, and we're limiting what can be done together. And so an example of that is our book bag project. Now, we started this 9 years ago, just as a club, and we, I think we started with 18 book bags. So we just past year we did 725, just not too long ago. It was in the month of August, and that's because now we had a few more clubs being involved and other organizations. And so we're projecting next year under a one service community that we'll pick the second Saturday in August, and we estimate we should be able to do 1,200 book bags with everybody working together and then distributing them into their local areas. We have an agreement with Costco. We get a great deal on the bags. School supplies are collected year round. So now we have, 6 or 7 other organizations collecting them year round, all coming together in second Saturday in August, and being able to put together 1,200 book bags all together. So it's just a small example. There have been co-fundraisers since COVID has been released. People know in every club what the other clubs are doing. They are thinking first about how to make everything they're doing within a club more of a one service community opportunity. I think we attract members by getting people to participate in projects. And that's our membership, and I know we're kind of on the fringe of, we're actually have grown significantly in members, since COVID. But it's because of the service projects that we do. So, each organization by itself will make a difference. But what would that difference be if we had a one service community mindset? So in our case, 630 members. The impact on the community needs would be tremendous, and it has been. We're moving our mission kind of through the service. We still do a lot of service projects that done in a day or one day opportunities, but we are moving into solutions now, and that takes a commitment. It takes leadership, and as we looked at everything, what needs to change to kind of move things in this direction, and we determined it's really only one thing, and that's how we think. And if we can think on a bigger scale, if we collaborate, we can address declining memberships, we can address limited project opportunities, and truly get into a solutions-based thinking if you have multiple clubs involved. And it doesn't just have to be Rotary clubs, it's anybody doing service work in your area. So we try to get away from being Longwood Rotarians, Oxford Rotarians, Avon Grove Lions, and we just want to be Rotarians. And we just want to be like, because that's the way the public sees us. And we can do a lot more in thinking that way. So our motto and our message has been, let's get out of our silos, let's create some solutions, and together we can truly make a very big difference in the community. And with that, I will open up for questions.
That was really inspiring. Thank you so much. Really impressive work that you've all been doing. I was wondering if it sounds like that Parents as Teachers program that the Maternal Coalition spearheaded, for lack of a better term, maybe part of a Pennsylvania-wide initiative or a federal one that I've heard of? And if so, how great is it that you all are supporting that the Maternal Health Coalition and sort of taking the government funding and kind of maximizing it, or infusing some, that much needed injection that it needed, so that you boosted the participation among the parents. I don't know if you're
Kelly, that's again, so there's no government funding involved with that. And actually, an offshoot of working with maternal health and tying into one of the 6 Rotary objectives is that we are working on a global grant, all right, into Chester County. We're the recipient, okay? When does that ever happen? And we've got all these relationships over the years of where we have supported outside the country, who are now supporting us because their federal government has limited their funding, and so what's another way to continue in maternal and child health programs? And they're in Westchester, Kennett, Coatesville. I mean, so they got a big footprint. And so we're in the process now of trying to get a global grant for here in one of the richest counties in the country, but that's not the thing. It's the federal government money has gone away and we're trying to replace it because the program checks all the boxes and what they're doing.
Got it. Thank you. Just has a similar name, but I see. Thank you.
Bob, I have just a comment, I guess, for everyone here. I thank you for coming, and I heard you speak at the district level, and I knew we wanted you to speak at our club. But what I really like is the strategic thinking that you all have had in thinking multiple years. We are in a process of our own strategic plan and looking at service as one of our major initiatives. And I would certainly encourage our club as we move forward to at least think about some of the things that you did, and particularly going into the community and finding out what the biggest needs are. Philadelphia, it's has the highest poverty rate in the country of any large city, so there's no shortage of needs.
Mm-hmm.
But I really respect what you all have done strategically and going into the community and asking what the needs are, and then coming back and trying to find solutions for that.
Well, a lot of it was how the rest of the community perceived Rotary. They, ahead of us, saw it as a leadership organization, that a group that could get this done with the skill sets we have. And if we look at the club, and we started looking at the club as a group of skill sets, and when you do that, you start saying, where else in the community, besides the municipalities themselves, is that leadership going to come from? And where else in the community has that skill set in one place? And you begin to say, they were right. We didn't see ourselves as they saw us. And it took that aha moment to start working and moving in that direction of a group of skill sets out to help and move these issues, not incrementally, but step change. Especially the nonprofit organizations, which some of you are from, the mindset, the training is incremental improvement. And we went to foundation. We have our own foundation that's well funded, but we went to other foundations and started telling them what we were doing. And they saw the step change opportunity. And so they started giving funds to us to then do more. Because when they give it directly to the nonprofits, which they continue to do, it was incremental. And we were going to do in a year what it may have taken them 5+ years to get to. So it's that leadership factor, and don't sell it short. People on the outside think Rotarians as a group have tremendous value.
That's encouraging to hear, Bob. May I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
I'm afraid that our area may not have as much visibility or much understanding of the good that Rotary can do. And so assuming at a base level, our center city efforts to undertake a community needs assessment might be met with like, why should we give up our time to help you with this? Or why should we attend? Or, no, I'm too busy for this. Any suggestions as to what might help entice people, or rather what type of people you found were the right people to contact who generally were willing to provide this kind of information and insight? Thanks.
Yeah, in its simplest form, have it ever at a very nice place, make it a first-class event, and then you'll attract the people. The other things are when they came, it's right balance. We had the nonprofits that always have the need, and we did some ranking exercises. Have it professionally facilitated, and where a lot of people were ranking the community on a 10 scale, 8, 7, 8, great. The nonprofits were there to tell us, no, their clients would rate it 3, 4. And we went, oh, let's get in and learn why a part of our community, a significant part of our community, would only rate this town or this community a 3 or 4. And that's where we put a lot of focus. And it's really that balancing. So, your center city question, hard to answer because I don't know the dynamics. But all I can say is have a first-class event. Don't get discouraged the first time it doesn't work. But I think as a club, you're going to know a lot more about the needs if you bring in the people who can explain to you the needs, and then you'll have the opportunity to kind of select which ones you go after. I mean, we had club votes on which ones we're interested in when we laid how we're going to prioritize, and the commitments. We needed the whole club to commit to 2 things. We're going to go through these initiatives. It may take us 5 years, 3 to 5 years for results, and we're going to lead through this one service community. That's an initiative. That's part of the initiative.
Very nice.
Great question.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Have you had any interaction with the United Way?
Yeah, we on one of our transportation initiatives, we looked and said, well, wait a minute, as volunteers, we can't have social agencies calling us, and we all have jobs, and we're all doing things. So we said we need a administrative partner. So we approached the United Way of Southern Chester County because they are interacting with all the agencies on a daily basis anyway, and they agreed to be that administrator for us because that is a key part. So a social process would go with a client needs a car, they come to the social services agency, that agency would then call the United Way. And the United Way would have how many cars are available, this and that, what repair shop to take it to, and they would direct all that because we're paying part of their salary to do such. So I think they are a great partner to have to help you understand the needs because they are working with these agencies every day. And I can tell you through that whole transportation process, the critical person in that process is the caseworker for the social services agency. And now we have to, we interact with them a lot now because we need to understand what those key needs are and really what the exceptions will be. Because in most cases, they're already getting maybe housing assistance, food assistance, and now we've just made it more holistic by creating transportation assistance.
Yeah,
Hi, Juliana.
Bob,
How you been?
Hi, thanks. It's great hearing you again. These are phenomenal projects, and you have the skill sets, the organization, the leadership, all of that going on. I'm just wondering, what were some of the projects that were left on the table? Because you have to focus in order to succeed. There have to be some cutting. What were some of the lesser projects, and why were they, maybe smaller clubs would be interested in their own communities and some of the lesser projects?
Yeah, job trading was one that kind of bubbled around. And then each of these education, housing and transportation, they're all a mile wide. We took a year to understand it and then take a piece of each of these. So there are small pieces in each of those initiatives that small clubs can handle or collaboration with many clubs could handle. And so when I talk about transportation, we just focused on getting people who have a job with a car, all of a sudden they have an unexpected expense, and we're going to take care of that so they can continue to get to work. They don't have to worry about paying for it right away. They have a car right away. So we think we can do, as a group of volunteers with our partners, do that job very well. And once we establish ourselves doing that, then we might be able to expand. And so on housing, the same thing. It's a mile wide. Workforce housing is all over, but we just took pieces. So I would be surprised that if you did a needs assessment, that something other than those 3 will come up. Okay, maybe not transportation so much, that's more of a suburban issue. But then don't try to boil the ocean. Figure out what you can do take a piece of it and figure it, and just do that very, very well. That'll establish credibility. That'll give your group, your team, the confidence that you can take this on. Just think if we took on something bigger than we might have been able to, and it failed. It would have been very difficult for the club leadership to try something else later on. So we really spent a lot of time focusing on what can we do about it. And that every club's going to be different.
Excellent, excellent advice. Thank you.
I have one detailed question, I suppose.
Sure, Jay.
And that is for the community needs assessment. Did you use the professional agency or someone to help with that?
We used Dave Harridan, who most of you know. And Dave has been that's what Dave does very well. And so obviously it'd be my recommendation. I've spoken to many Rotary clubs that, want to move to the next step after hearing this presentation. And so, so having, I strongly recommend it's a first-class event with a professional moderator who knows how to get the information and next steps. So put some money toward it as you can, because you get one shot at this. And, the opportunity to bring people together who never get to come together, in other situations. Well, look at you as a leadership organization. You get one shot at it.
Thank you.
Kathy?
It's Kathy, host for hospitals. Let me speak from the nonprofit perspective. Thank you. Sometimes from a nonprofit, it's really difficult. People always want the one and done things. And it's so easy sometimes to do a collection or a short marathon, something like that. So speaking from somebody that's not a one and done nonprofit, thank you. That's fantastic. My question ongoing, I know you did a lot of research before to pinpoint the ones that are most needed. And on an ongoing basis, do you rotate clearly a couple years is what you need to do something well, but will you continue to evaluate?
Oh yeah, so we just give the process. We formed a research committee to go out and research, go to every meeting. We had people riding the scoot bus just to get a feel for what the riders are feeling and talking, interviewing them. So we did a lot of that for about a year, and then decided, okay, in this order we're going to implement. So then the implementation committee was different than the research committee because it's a different skill set needed. And so we are in implementation of education and housing, and then we launch the transportation in next month. And so the next step, I think, as you're saying, is we will then redo a community needs assessment in say year 4. And that it may end up being the same items, but we might scope them different and take another piece, or it may be something brand new.
Great, that answers my question.
And I will tell you, Metro, that we got to look at. The community calls us. Now that we've done all this, we get calls from the mayor. We get calls from police chiefs. We get calls from the superintendents. They call us regularly now with help or opportunity. The community has seen us now as a leadership group, and that to us is awesome, because that was not the way we thought of ourselves.
How did they hear about it? Do they accidentally, or do you have somebody in your committee that solicits them and tells them what you're doing, or just haphazard?
Who's the they? When you said
the school districts and the people that came back and come to you now. How did they hear about it?
Well, I think it's our individual networks, and again, we have so many nonprofits. And one thing about the Kennett area is all the nonprofits work together. They all support each other. So that whole network is one that's real good. Dynamics that we have helped create has been really just awesome to see how it's gone from where it was to where it is now.
Great, thanks.
All right, perfect. Any other questions?
Okay. And think of me as, if you do want to go down this road, think of me as a consultant on this. You know, we're happy to share all the mistakes we've made and, you know, provide advice for, you know, how to move in that direction. I know Julia and I know Rogers kind of wants to adopt it as a district piece, and you know, he and I have been in touch on that as well.
Yeah, we were talking about you last night. All good though.
Okay, good. My PR money is doing well.
There you go.
Well, Bob, as a brief thank you for speaking with the club today, I'm going to do a quick share screen. I wanted to give this to you in person, but we're working with what we got. In your honor, we're going to inoculate 6 children against polio. And just wanted to say thank you again for speaking today. That was a terrific presentation. And thanks for it's all actionable too. This is stuff we can take and work with immediately. So thank you.
And as a polio survivor, I appreciate the gesture there with vaccinations.